Well, 1 week to go before the federal election and all the polls are pointing to a Labor win, but they've been wrong before. Joining me live, former Liberal MP Jason Falinski and Assistant Immigration Minister Matt Thistlethwaite. They're both at the desk. Now, you guys are at prohibitive odds now with the bookmakers. Does that scare you or does it give you confidence?
A week's a long time in politics and anything can happen, Tim. When I finish here today, I'll go further campaigning, doing some door knocking and street stalls, and we'll continue to do that right up to election day. We're confident in our plan for Australia. We believe that we've listened to what Australians want around cost of living, education and healthcare. But the decision is in the hands of the Australian people, and anything can change over the course of the next week, and that's why we'll be campaigning right up to election day at 6 o'clock.
I think 2019, Scott Morrison was around $7.
He was, but the polls were a lot closer in 2019 than they are here. They were 52.5. I mean, the Redbridge polls today, which is 54.5. Sometimes I'm a bit suspicious about the way COS polls, but, you know, 54.5 is a pretty solid lead for the Labor Party.
We had another debate during the week. Do you think it was Peter Dutton's best performance? Is it all a little bit too little too late looking at the polls?
Yeah, well, look, it was his best performance to date. I think he put the Prime Minister under a lot of pressure. But, yeah, you're starting to get the sense. I mean, last week I said I don't think people will tune in until after Anzac Day. I'm now starting to doubt that. I think that people have started, you know, during the week made up their minds, and that debate was just probably too little too late, unfortunately, for people.
I want to get both your reactions on this. You mentioned Anzac Day, of course, and a very important, if not the most important day in our calendar. Yesterday we saw this interruption with this neo-Nazi voice. And we're reporting this morning that it's not going to breach hate laws. Does that surprise you, that wouldn't breach hate laws?
It depends on the various states and what they have in place in terms of hate laws, but it was a disgraceful act because Anzac Day is about showing respect to our veterans, those that have served our nation and those that continue to serve our nation. And I saw that act as disrespectful. You can have your political views around different things, but you don't use Anzac Day and you don't disrupt a ceremony that's there to show respect for our veterans and our serving Defence Force personnel. So in that respect, it was a disgraceful act.
Pretty ordinary, wasn't it?
It was. Look, it's, Matt is absolutely right. It's there for the people who gave the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live in freedom and prosperity, and we are there to honour people, not to make it about us, and that's what they did yesterday. So, but in terms of it being in breach of hate laws, look, I'm a bit of a free speech advocate, and I think they did more damage to themselves yesterday by the way that they behaved than any law we could ever introduce into the Australian Parliament.
Last time the Coalition were in power, you were part of that government. How do you think it's all going to play out in the end? How will the small parties and independents have a voice? What do you think is going to happen? What's the Jason Falinski crystal ball looking like?
The Jason Falinski crystal ball is that I think that we're going to do really underperform expectations. I think that Labor will probably end up with a majority government. I don't think at the end of February, if we were sitting here, I would have said that's a possibility. And the fact of the matter...
How much do you blame the Teals?
I think the ecosystem of the Teals, the dishonesty of the Teals, the fact that they escape scrutiny in the same way that Matt does, the Labor Party and the Liberal Party does, is a huge problem in our democracy at the moment. Simon Holmes à Court has done more damage to our democracy than any single person. What
do you think of the Teals?
Well, they've been elected by the Australian people and they're representing their communities. And I think that that's the important thing, that anyone that's elected to the House of Representatives should represent their community. And we all get judged on that every 3 years. And they're up for election like the rest of us, so they'll have to demonstrate to their communities.
But they're not scrutinised like you guys are.
Well, I think that, you know, they're members of Parliament like everyone else, and they have the opportunity to be scrutinised by...
Have you taken money from companies that have been blacklisted for human rights abuses in China?
And that's why our government has disclosure laws.
I am so sick and tired.
To ensure that there's much more transparency and accountability in who is donating to political parties because of the changes that we've made.
This goes beyond Labor Party talking points. Now, I've had this out with... It is a talking point. They took money from companies blacklisted for human rights abuses. It has been declared. It is a matter of public record. How often are they called to account for that?
I don't know anything about donations to Teal candidates.
It was a front-page story.
What I know is that Labor has listened to the Australian people and improved our disclosure laws to ensure that they now reflect the wishes of the Australian people, that you're disclosing earlier, that there are caps on the amount that people can donate to political parties, and all of it is fully disclosed. And in that respect, we're listening to what the Australian people want.
Good to see some raised voices, personally. Look, it can be a dangerous week in elections. Everyone is a little tired. Slip-ups can happen. What do you think?
Well, there's a week to go, and we're going to continue to campaign as strongly as we can up until 6 o'clock on election day. And our plan has been developed by listening to the Australian people and hearing what they want. And they want cost of living relief, and that's what our tax cuts do. That's what our energy bill relief does. They want investment in education from early childhood right through to university. They want us to be training more tradies, and that's what Free TAFE does. They want a plan for housing affordability, and we've delivered that with investments in new housing, but ensuring that young people can get into the housing market with a 5% deposit. Our plan is based on listening to the Australian people and delivering what they want.
If it goes the way you think it's going to go, and it's not like the Democrats in the United States, but do the coalition need to look internally about the way things are going?
Do we? Yes, absolutely. I don't want to talk about that now until after the election.
No, I understand that.
But look, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everything Matt just said, he talked about housing affordability. The Labor Party is yet to deliver a single house under their $1 billion housing fund. We have been fundamentally unable to hold them to account for that over the last 3 years. We have been unable to hold the Teals to account for taking money from blacklisted human rights abuse companies, and today Matt refused to condemn them for that. This is a matter of actual accountability this election, and we've failed to do that.
Matt, Jason, thank you.
Thank you.
We've got a big week ahead, and I appreciate you both coming in right throughout the campaign.